In this video, we're talking about DNA. DNA is a very interesting phenomenon. We've had DNA. The question is, what is it? So let's take a look at this mystique and try to understand it in the simplest term, what DNA is. All right, so it says here, simply put, DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. Deoxyribonucleic acid. And it has all of the biological and molecular information about all living things. All living things. Now let's list the living things that we know of. First is humans, right? Living things. Second, animals, living things. And third, plants, living things. And according to this, they all have DNA. They all have DNA, right? So all living things have DNA. Let's please take note of this. This is a very important point. They have DNA that determines their identity, that determines how they live and function. So the DNA has information about the physical appearance, right? So how we look, physical appearance, how we look. So it determines the physical appearance of all living things and how they function. So for humans, for example, it determines the color of skin. It determines the color of eyes, right? And it determines other things as well. Sometimes it could be the physical, right? The physical appearance, such as maybe type of hair, size of head, perhaps, size of nose, and things along those lines, right? So in humans, DNA determines such characteristics and defining traits such as color, right? As we said, skin, as we said, right, etc. As we said before, and this is a very important point about DNA, determines such characteristics and defining traits such as color of eyes, as we've said before, skin, color, and other characteristics that we have. The DNA has information about humans and animals and all of the living things, and information is very critical to understanding how we live. And this is very important. Right, so the information is very critical to understanding how we live. The information is very critical to understanding how we live and function. So DNA has many sections, and those sections are known as genes. Please take note of this. So let's put that here, right? So it has many sections, and those sections are known as genes. And the genes carry specific information about the human, about the animal, about all living things, plants and so forth. Very important point for us to take note of. So DNA is made up of several sections, and those sections are known as genes, and genes carry information about humans. The DNA contains the genetic code, and that code is very unique to each individual. The DNA is very unique to individuals and determines some of the characteristics of that individual and how they live and function. The DNA, genes, and chromosome actually work to make us who we are as human beings. Chromosomes carry the DNA in cells, and this is important to know. The chromosomes carry the DNA in cells, and the DNA itself, as we said before, is responsible for actually making us up as human beings, building us up as human beings, and maintaining our human structure essentially, right? So genes are segments, as we said before, of your DNA, right? They're in sections. Earlier we said they're in sections, right? So the genes are segments of your DNA. The genes are segments of everyone's DNA, and that gives us the physical characteristics, like we were talking earlier, that make us very unique human beings. And this is very important for us to note as well, right? Because the DNA is a very important component in every human being, right? It's a very complex phenomenon, very complex molecule, which has all the information that we need. And all living things, have DNA in their cells, within their cells. And this is important to note as well. All living things, animals, plants, humans, have DNA within the cells. And scientists have told us that nearly every cell in a multicellular organism, right, has the full complement of DNA, right, the full set complement of DNA that organism requires. So this is the DNA in simple terms. A very complex idea, very complex phenomenon, but breaking it down this way hopefully makes it manageable and makes it a bit more understandable.